Have you ever wondered if there's some kind of instructions in our otherwise so creative junk journal world? Because creativity or design doesn't necessarily come along with a lot of instructions, and that's good. But I tried to design some directions that you can follow step by step to create the perfect tag. Hi, my name is Bianca and I'm so happy that you're here. First of all, Happy New Year! I wish you all the best, a lot of luck, a lot of good health, whatever you need. And now let's start with the first video of the new year, the instructions for tag design. So as I said, I tried to design some step-by-step instructions that you can follow to design the perfect tag. Because sometimes I sit at my crafting desk and I wonder, all right, what can I design now? How can I design it? Sometimes I'm missing ideas, and this video is my try to give you a red thread that you can hold on to and that you can follow step by step, and that makes designing and crafting a bit easier. Let's start. First of all, we'll have a look at the step-by-step instructions fast forward, and after that we'll have a look at them in more detail. So, what do we need? First of all, we need a tag shape. Then we need an interesting background. After that, you can add sewing or paint splatters, but that's optional. Then we need clusters. We need some extras, and we need a dangle, and most important, we need a main motif, and you can add the main motif after whatever step you want. And since you already know this tag, we will of course design another tag together in this video. Let's start with the first point, the tag shape. For the tag shape, we need a normal rectangle. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut off one edge. And you don't have to measure anything, just cut it off. And then you take this piece, turn it around, and then you align it edge to edge on the other side. I'll come a bit closer. And now you're just going to cut along the edge. And this is how you create a symmetrical tag. But it's a bit too pointed here, so I'm going to cut off just a bit at the top, and now I like it. So now for the next step, the interesting background. And I pre-worked a bit, maybe you can see it. The paper has these stains, because when we turn it around, ta-da, it has this beautiful design. And I created this design with one of the methods that I will show you in this video right here. I'll link it. You can just click on that and then you come to the video where I designed this. This is a watercolor method, and I'm just going to use this as my interesting background. I'll give you a short sneak peek at the designs that we crafted or designed in that video. These are a few different methods. You can see it. They all look a bit different. And as I said, this is just one of them. If you're interested in that, just watch the video. But you don't have to do the interesting background by yourself. You can also use some design pads out of the crafting store, or you can just use normal design paper. For this tag, for example, I used my own crafting paper, this one right here. And again, if you're interested in that, just watch this video at the top of the corner right here, and there you'll also find some instructions if you want to buy this design paper. All right, so back to the video. Now we have our tag shape and we have our interesting background. So the next step, the optional sewing. You can sew on the tag like so. So you just sew around the edges, or you can sew all over the place, or crisscross. This is the method that I'm going to use with this tag because, I don't know, I kind of want it to be more chaotic. So I'm just going to sew all over the place. I'm going to do that and then I'll meet you back here. All right, I'm back. And you can see I just crisscross sewed all over the tag. You can see it a bit better on the back side. And I kind of like the outcome. I like the craziness, the chaoticness of it. So yeah, that's the end result of our third step, the sewing. The next step is paint splatters. And I already told you this is optional. I use them here, the black and the gold, but I'm not going to use them on this tag because I told you like 100 times now. It's already chaotic. And these small paint splatters wouldn't stand out on this crazy background. So I'm gonna pass on the paint splatters. But yeah, paint splatters are easy. You just need some watercolor and then you just splash them onto your tag. And you don't even need watercolor. You can just also use coffee for a more vintage tone. And you can also use structure paste. You can see my self-made, what's it called? Tablet? I don't know. you see what I mean. And here I just punched some holes in it. And then you just take your structure paste and apply it. I mean, yeah, why not? I could do it with this one. It doesn't look that bad with the white that stands out a bit. So let's do it. So in that case, we don't skip the fourth point, the paint splatters. We just use structure paste for it. This one is already kind of dry, but it still works. So I'm going to align it where I want it, and then I'm just going to apply it. If these, what's it called, spatula or something like that? It's not a daily word. That's why I don't really use it, and that's why I don't really remember it. But I try my best with the English language. I hope you can understand me. All right, let's just pull that up. Nice. We're going to add some more on here. Yeah, I guess. And I still have some structure paste on it. I'm just gonna rub over it, and then it should work. Yeah. All right, I like that. It adds to the chaotic and craziness. So, fourth point, check the paint splatters. Now for the fifth point, the clusters. So first of all, what are clusters? Clusters are just a combination of different elements that are arranged, either layered on top of each other or side by side. So that means you're just going to use a few different things that you layer on top of each other. With this tag, I used some thread and a bead. So yeah, you can use 3 things, 4 things, 2 things, whatever you want. You just layer them a bit. And I'll spoiler a bit because we also need our main motif, and I want it to be this watercolor flower. And I want to do the cluster with the watercolor flower. And I want to use some thread for the cluster. That means I want to do a cluster with the main motif and the thread. So my plan was that I want to layer the watercolor flower on top of the thread. You see what I mean? I kind of like that. So I'm going to use a bit more thread, and then I'm going to arrange that. All right, so here we have the thread, and I kind of shaped it in the shape of the flower. So I can put that on. And the thread sticks out just a bit, and then we just glue that down here. So with that, we have the 0.5, the cluster, and we also have the not existing point, the main flower, because as I already said, you can add the main flower wherever you want. You can, for example, put it onto the interesting background, so you can add it after 0.2, and then just glue everything else on top of it or around it. That kind of depends what design you maybe have in mind or how you want to work. And yeah, I just put it behind 0.5, the cluster, because I included it in it. But yeah, this is the not written down point, the main motif. So after the cluster point and the main motif point, now for 0.6, the extras. And you can use basically everything you want for the extras. You can use buttons, you can use dried flowers, you can use lace, you can use ribbons, you can use words, whatever comes to your mind or whatever you have laying around your crafting desk anyways. Maybe some beads, whatever you can think of, whatever you have left over. And I'm gonna use, wow, it's upside down. I'm gonna use the button and this word. It says extraordinary if you can't read it. So before we do that, before we align the button and the word, we still need the stem. I forgot that. So I'm just gonna draw it real quick and just align down, and that's it. I don't want to leave with this one, so I'm gonna skip that. All right, so now we can add this, and we kind of now see the negative space that's left, and I want to add a few more things to that negative space right here to this one because it's so big, and I kind of want to use this and this as my negative space. So I'm going to align it something like this. But before we do that, I still want to ink this word so it stands out a bit more. All right, I'll bring you a bit closer. Now you can see it has this brown edge. And now I'm just gonna layer our 0.6, the extras. So in that case, the button and the word. And I think I'm gonna do it like so, something like this, so that the button covers a bit of the word. That kind of looks cute. And then I'm just gonna glue that down. All right, that's it. And as you can see, or as I already told you, I wrote that myself. So if you don't have these printed words, you can just do it by hand. All right, so now for the last step, the dangle or the charm. So this is basically just something that you tie at the top of this. So you punch a hole into it and then you just tie something through it. And I was thinking of this beige lace. Let's add it to the top of this. And for that, I'm gonna use this device. I forgot the name. But you could also use something like this and punch some holes with this device if you have something that's big enough. Mine isn't, so I'm gonna use this one. And here I'm just gonna align, make sure that I have the middle. And then I'm just gonna punch. All right, so, and this is kind of a bit too thick for me, so I'm just gonna cut that in half again. And now I'm just gonna use this part. And then just tie a knot or a bow, whatever you want. And then this is our tag. You can still glue that onto a thicker paper because you see it's kind of wobbly. I'll do that later. But first of all, the design is that what matters. And this is our design. We followed a 7-step, step-by-step instruction and ended up with this one. And I'll compare that to the old tag. So we have the tag shape. Then we have the interesting background. We have the sewing in 2 different ways. We have the paint splatters in 2 different ways, one with the watercolor and one with the structure paste. We have the clusters and we have the extras. Here are the beads and here the button and the word. And then we of course have a dangle. And I always forget about that because it doesn't have like a specific place in the step-by-step instructions, but the main motive. As I said, it doesn't have a specific place, so you can edit after whatever step you want or whatever fits your design best. And you can see these 2 are so different, but they both look great. They have different topics, but they both followed the same instructions. And it's kind of easy because, as I already said, you have a red thread that you can follow. And I saw something here that I want to add to this one as well. I'm just going to distress the edges so it stands out a bit more. All right. That's it. I like both of them. They're both really different, but they're both beautiful. And I hope that you were able to follow along and that you learned something, that you maybe include this instruction step by step into your daily crafting life, because it makes tag design very easy. Really easy, and I hope you liked it. If yes, then I would be really happy about a thumbs up or a comment. That helps with the channel and helps us grow together as a community. And I'm always happy to hear something about your designs or your questions or whatever comes to your mind. I'm here and I'm happy if you are too. So that's it for today. And then I'll see you next week again to the next video. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye bye.